They tell us that true healing brings about a softer, kinder, and more peaceful existence. And this resonates deeply because the prospect sounds so beautiful. Yet, Carl Jung uncovered a profound truth that utterly shatters this comforting illusion. A truly healed empath does not simply evolve into a gentler version of themselves. On the contrary, they transform into something inherently dangerous, not to the innocent, but in a way that profoundly terrifies anyone who once sought to exploit them. Let's delve into what Jung himself described as arguably the most unexpected psychological metamorphosis in human nature. When an empath finally achieves the integration of their shadow and crosses that crucial threshold, moving from the archetype of the wounded healer to that of a formidable psychological force, they don't just change, they become utterly untouchable. And this very quality is precisely what keeps manipulators awake at night, gripped by an unfamiliar dread. Before we explore this powerful new state of the healed empath, it's essential to first grasp their former existence. The unhealed empath functioned as what Jung termed an emotional shock absorber. They were fundamentally designed to withstand impact after impact, tirelessly cushioning everyone else from life's harsh blows, all while slowly, inexorably destroying themselves in the process. These individuals spent years unwittingly soaking up the emotional chaos of others. The searing rage of an alcoholic father, the silent, pervasive depression of a mother, a partner's infidelity that resonated within them even before any tangible proof emerged, a co-worker's envy thinly veiled as concern. They absorbed it all. This wasn't a conscious choice. Their nervous system was simply wired to detect and assimilate every emotional frequency within its vast range. Jung famously labeled this phenomenon unconscious participation. You weren't merely experiencing your own emotions, you were, in fact, shouldering the entire unconscious weight of everyone in your orbit, their shadows, their suppressed pain, their unprocessed trauma. All of it poured into you, as if you were some sort of cosmic receptacle for humanity's suffering. And the most devastating aspect wasn't the pain itself. It was the insidious belief that this very absorption was your intrinsic purpose. You were convinced that your heightened sensitivity, your profound capacity to feel everything, meant you were obligated to fix, to save, to hold space for everyone around you. Your entire identity was meticulously constructed around being the person who could gracefully handle what others couldn't. The ever-present therapist friend, the insightful, emotional translator, the one who always, without fail, understood. But here's the crucial truth no one ever imparted. While you were tirelessly absorbing the darkness of others, you were simultaneously neglecting your own. You possessed no true boundaries, for setting them felt inherently cruel. You established no limits, perceiving them as selfish acts. You nodded yes when every fiber of your being screamed no. You offered a smile even as you longed to scream. You stayed rooted when every instinct begged you to flee. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, you vanished. The authentic you became buried beneath countless layers of other people's unresolved emotions. Jung observed this recurring pattern time and again in his clinical practice. Empaths who sought his help, not because they suffered from mental illness, but because they were quite literally drowning in a vast ocean of consciousness that was fundamentally not their own. Consider a compelling case profile meticulously documented in Jung's clinical notes, a composite drawn from consistent patterns he noted across numerous patients. This individual, whom Jung would classify as an introverted intuitive type, would enter any room and immediately perceive its intricate psychological atmosphere. They instinctively knew who was dissembling, who was suffering, who harbored deep resentments. But this extraordinary gift did not bring serenity. It brought an overwhelming exhaustion. Small talk became an impossibility because they saw effortlessly through every superficial facade. Friendships struggled to endure as people often felt uncomfortably exposed in their presence. Jung ultimately realized he wasn't addressing a pathology. He was witnessing the profound implications of when the unconscious becomes excessively conscious, when perception itself becomes too highly differentiated for normal social functioning and survival. This isolating pattern echoes consistently throughout the empathic experience. The very capacity to perceive everything becomes the precise mechanism that ultimately separates and isolates you from everyone. But then, something extraordinary happens, something that irrevocably alters everything. Jung referred to it as the breaking point, but that term falls short of capturing its true essence. It's not a catastrophic breakdown. Rather, it's a monumental breakthrough, cleverly disguised as destruction. Typically, this catalyst is a profound betrayal, not just any betrayal, but the kind that strips away all illusions and finally allows you to see with crystalline clarity. The individual you trusted implicitly, the one you shielded with your very being, the one for whom you absorbed endless pain, finally reveals their authentic self. Perhaps you uncover years of deceit. Perhaps you witness them meticulously dismantling your life while smiling disarmingly. Or perhaps you realize, with a chilling certainty, that they never perceived you as a person at all, merely an expendable resource to be systematically drained. And in that pivotal moment, something inside you doesn't shatter, it awakens. For here is Jung's groundbreaking discovery that will forever reshape your understanding of this transformation. The breaking point is not when the empath loses their mind, but when they finally begin to trust it. You see, during all those years you spent absorbing everyone's emotions, you were simultaneously engaged in another crucial activity. You were diligently studying, meticulously cataloguing, and intricately mapping human behavior with the unparalleled precision of a master strategist. Every fleeting micro-expression, every subtle shift in vocal tone, every glaring contradiction between someone's words and their underlying energy, you perceived it all. You knew it all. You simply never allowed yourself to use it. We witness this powerful dynamic vividly in the recurring narrative of transformation that Jung observed. The moment of awakening does not arrive with triumphant fanfare. Instead, it manifests as a cold, undeniable clarity. The empath, who had spent decades plagued by self-doubt regarding their perceptions, suddenly ceases to question. The internal knowing, which they had suppressed for years in a desperate attempt to maintain peace, now roars louder than any external voice attempting to sway them otherwise. The healed empath emerges from this profound awakening as what Jung termed psychologically complete. They have successfully integrated their shadow. And their shadow is not a repository of evil. Rather, it comprises every potent quality they were conditioned to suppress: their formidable intelligence, their righteous rage, their unequivocal ability to say no, their willingness to allow others to experience failure and its lessons, their resolute capacity to walk away without offering an explanation, and their inherent talent for instantaneously discerning manipulation. When these dormant aspects finally integrate, when the empath unequivocally owns every facet of themselves, three distinct and increasingly potent stages of transformation naturally unfold. Empaths are not inherently broken. They are alchemists in a profound process, with each stage more powerful than the last. Stage 1. The mirror effect. The healed empath completely ceases to absorb your emotions. Instead, they begin to reflect them directly back to you. They are no longer a porous sponge, but an unyielding mirror. Not the kind that distorts reality to soothe your ego, but the kind that starkly reveals precisely who and what you are. Let's consider a narrative illustration to fully grasp this operation. Imagine yourself as a narcissist who has spent years exploiting empaths as readily available emotional ATMs. You utter something cruel, and they absorb it. You project your insecurities, and they shoulder the responsibility. This pattern has always yielded predictable results. But then, you encounter a healed empath, and suddenly, absolutely nothing works. You deploy your customary tactics, the calculated guilt trip, the subtle gaslighting, the veiled put-down disguised as concern. Yet, instead of passively absorbing it as they once did, they simply look at you. They truly see you. And in that unflinching gaze, you are confronted with yourself. Not the carefully constructed facade you present to the world, but the authentic version, the insecure, desperate, manipulative self you've painstakingly hidden even from yourself. It's utterly terrifying because the healed empath is not judging you, nor are they expressing anger. They are simply holding up an honest mirror, and you find yourself utterly incapable of enduring the reflection. Consequently, you react precisely as all unconscious individuals do when confronted with their own reflection. You attack the mirror. You label them cold, selfish, excessively sensitive, proclaiming they are not the person they used to be. And they simply smile, for they understand with crystalline clarity precisely what you are doing. They have witnessed this predictable pattern unfold 1,000 times. Metaphorically, they wrote the definitive guide to it. The mirror effect effectively neutralizes manipulators because it dismantles their most potent weapon, your own willingness to doubt your perceptions. The healed empath implicitly trusts what they see with an unwavering certainty, and that unshakable knowing acts as kryptonite to anyone attempting to distort or manipulate reality. Jung meticulously documented this phenomenon throughout his clinical observations. When empaths finally ceased second-guessing their intuition, they became unequivocally immune to the very tactics that had controlled them for years. The power of gaslighters evaporates when their target no longer questions their own reality. The guilt manipulator's strategy crumbles when their victim no longer feels obligated to bear a shame that is not, and never was, theirs. Stage 2. Selective empathy. This is the stage that most often confuses observers because they anticipate the healed empath will either remain entirely open to everyone or become completely closed off. But neither extreme occurs. Instead, they evolve into the decisive gatekeeper of their own being. The unhealed empath was like an open door through which anyone could freely walk, any emotion, any demand, any crisis. The door remained perpetually ajar, for closing it felt inherently wrong. But the healed empath fundamentally transforms that door into something altogether different, a sacred threshold guarded by a formidable sentinel. And that guardian is utterly ruthless when it comes to one thing: their precious energy. This is the crucible from which selective empathy emerges. The healed empath retains a profound capacity for compassion, a deep well of feeling, and the unwavering ability to hold space for genuine pain. However, now they choose. They choose who merits access to their extraordinary gifts. They choose which battles are truly worthy of their invaluable energy. They choose when to engage authentically and when to disengage and quietly walk away. And they make these sovereign choices entirely without guilt, without needing explanation, and without any compulsion to justify themselves to anyone. To individuals who consistently earn their trust, who consistently demonstrate integrity, and who unfailingly respect boundaries, the healed empath becomes an oasis, safe, nurturing, and profoundly present. But to manipulators, energy vampires, and those who adamantly refuse to undertake their own necessary inner work, the healed empath becomes an unyielding fortress. They are impenetrable, completely unmoved by tears that lack authenticity, unbothered by rage designed purely to control, and wholly unimpressed by manipulative sob stories crafted to extract unearned sympathy. This nuanced shift from simply being nice to truly being kind is absolutely crucial. Nice is primarily concerned with avoiding conflict, maintaining superficial appearances, and making others comfortable, often at one's own profound expense. Kind, conversely, is about genuinely doing what is actually helpful, even when that involves uncomfortable truths or difficult choices. The healed empath unequivocally stops being merely nice, but in doing so, they become profoundly, authentically kind. Kind enough to allow people to face the natural consequences of their choices. Kind enough to steadfastly refuse to enable dysfunction. Kind enough to utter a firm no without any need for apology. And here lies the immense power of this stage. The healed empath's selectivity is never predicated on judgment. It is based on something far more sophisticated and precise: sophisticated pattern recognition. They have observed precisely how certain personality types consistently operate. They instinctively know the predictable trajectory of relationships built upon manipulation. They possess an uncanny ability to forecast outcomes because they have witnessed the identical patterns unfold countless times before. The healed empath no longer requires months to ascertain someone's genuineness. They typically know within 3 conversations, not through mystical intuition, but through meticulously accumulated data. Through the vast unconscious database they have been meticulously constructing their entire lives. Which brings us to stage 3, strategic omniscience. This is the stage that would truly terrify you if you fully grasped its implications. Because the healed empath possesses a unique superpower that most people will never develop. They have become a living, breathing human lie detector, not through some inherent mystical gift, but through sheer, protracted survival. Consider the profound transformation that occurs when you spend years in a constant state of survival mode, when your emotional and even physical safety hinges entirely on accurately reading the room. When missing a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in someone's vocal tone could literally signify the difference between fleeting peace and utter chaos. When you were compelled to become an undisputed expert in human behavior simply to navigate the turbulent landscape of your own home. Your brain, under such duress, doesn't merely develop empathy. It forges an unparalleled database. Jung repeatedly observed this phenomenon in his clinical practice. His empathic patients could predict behavioral outcomes with startling, almost unsettling accuracy. This wasn't because they were fortune tellers. It was because they had unconsciously spent decades running sophisticated pattern recognition software that would undeniably make even advanced artificial intelligence green with envy. Every interaction was meticulously recorded data. Every conversation was valuable information. Every relationship became a detailed case study in the intricate tapestry of human nature. The unhealed empath diligently collected all this invaluable data, but was plagued by guilt at the thought of actually using it. They consistently second-guessed their deepest instincts, constantly telling themselves they were being judgmental, even when their gut instincts screamed absolute danger. They deliberately overrode their internal warning systems because doing so felt, at the time, kinder, more understanding, perhaps even more spiritual. But the healed empath now trusts that database implicitly and completely. When every cell in their body unequivocally signals that a person is lying, they no longer require external evidence. They no longer need proof. They already know, and they act accordingly, decisively. Every subtle micro-expression that foreshadowed an imminent outburst, every nuanced vocal pattern that undeniably signaled deception, every precise behavioral sequence that inevitably culminated in betrayal. You meticulously logged it all. And now, after the profound integration, after the transformative awakening, you possess conscious, unimpeded access to that formidable database. You see the entire game unfold even before it truly begins. Someone sits across from you, offering a disarming smile, and within 30 seconds you simply know. You know they're fabricating a story about their whereabouts last night. You know they're on the verge of requesting money they have no intention of repaying. You know they are meticulously orchestrating a manipulation, planning 3 moves ahead. You don't possess this knowledge because you are psychic. You know because you have witnessed this precise pattern play out 100 times before. The micro-expressions never lie. The underlying energy never lies. The predictable behavioral sequences never lie. This is precisely what Jung meant by differentiated perception. The healed empath doesn't merely feel more than others. They process intricate emotional and psychological information at a granular level most humans never even approach. They are operating with an advanced framework that took years of excruciating pain to develop, but which now functions with the unerring precision of a sixth sense. And here lies the profound twist that renders this state truly dangerous. The healed empath understands the mechanics of manipulation with absolute, perfect clarity. They could manipulate you with far greater ease and finesse than any narcissist ever could. They know exactly which buttons to press, which deep-seated wounds to exploit, which latent fears to skillfully activate. They possess the complete blueprint. They command the necessary skill. They hold all the critical knowledge. Yet, crucially, they choose not to deploy it destructively. Jung dedicated years to studying why some empaths ultimately integrated their power benevolently, while others succumbed to turning it into a weapon. He discovered that the singular differentiating factor boiled down to one thing: conscious choice. The healed empath, who steadfastly maintains their integrity, makes a deliberate, daily decision to utilize their extraordinary gifts for the greater good. They see the enticing shortcuts. They are acutely aware of how effortlessly they could manipulate their way through life. They recognize that their unparalleled understanding of human psychology grants them unfair advantages in virtually every interaction. Yet, they steadfastly refuse to seize those advantages. Not because they are weak, but precisely because they are strong enough to deliberately choose a harder, more ethical path. Strong enough to achieve their goals without resorting to cheating. Strong enough to genuinely influence without ever manipulating. This profound restraint, this conscious and unwavering choice to operate ethically when one could so easily achieve effectiveness through manipulation, is precisely what Jung lauded as moral courage. It is relatively simple to be perceived as good when one fundamentally lacks the capacity for malice or destructive intent. It requires an entirely different, far more evolved level of development to possess the formidable capacity for manipulation, and yet, instead, consciously choose truth and integrity. This is where Jung's profound concept of the individuated person becomes strikingly relevant. This is the individual who has successfully integrated both their light and their shadow aspects, who possesses the remarkable capacity for both profound, boundless compassion and ruthless, discerning precision. One who can be exquisitely gentle or fiercely resolute, depending entirely on the demands of the situation. The healed empath truly becomes what Jordan Peterson aptly describes as a monster under control, an individual capable of inflicting incredible damage, yet one who consciously and consistently chooses benevolence. This fundamental choice, this deliberate decision to wield power with wisdom, is precisely what unequivocally separates the healed empath from the manipulator. Both perceive the intricate game. Both grasp the underlying mechanics. Both could undoubtedly excel at psychological chess. But the healed empath engages in an entirely different game altogether. They are not striving to control you, they are striving to protect their own inviolable peace. And that crucial difference makes them infinitely more powerful than anyone attempting to dominate. Because when you are completely unattached to controlling specific outcomes, when you are not invested in futilely trying to change people who fundamentally do not wish to change, when you are utterly comfortable with the decisive act of walking away from anything that disrupts your inner peace, you become profoundly immune. Immune to the insidious guilt trips, immune to the subtle machinations of manipulation, immune to the engulfing chaos that once threatened to pull you under. The manipulator desperately needs you to react. The healed empath, by contrast, needs absolutely nothing from you. And that colossal imbalance of need is precisely where all true power resides. Now, let's explore what happens next, the dramatic climax of this transformative journey. This is the moment when everyone in the healed empath's orbit is compelled to make a choice. Because the empath's newly embodied state creates a powerful ripple effect that forces either evolution or stark revelation in every single relationship they maintain. Family dynamics that have long functioned through enabling behavior suddenly begin to collapse. This is not because the healed empath is actively destroying anything, but rather because they simply cease to be the load-bearing wall that previously propped up a dysfunctional structure. When you remove the individual who invariably absorbed all the tension, who perpetually smoothed over every conflict, who ceaselessly sacrificed themselves to maintain a facade of peace, the entire system is forced into a brutal reorganization. And that reorganization proves particularly harsh for those who have long benefited from the dysfunction. Your alcoholic father can no longer drink himself into oblivion while you passively clean up the emotional wreckage. Your codependent mother can no longer exploit you as her personal therapist while resolutely refusing to seek actual professional help. Your narcissistic ex can no longer control you through the manipulative leverage of past guilt. Your energy vampire friend can no longer dump their perpetual crisis into your lap, automatically expecting you to fix it. The empath who once enabled all of this is unequivocally gone. And in their place stands an individual who loves themselves more deeply than they ever loved, simply maintaining a false peace. Some individuals will rise to the occasion. They witness the healed empath's transformation and feel genuinely inspired. They begin to undertake their own arduous inner work. They respect the newly established boundaries. They genuinely appreciate the newfound authenticity. These relationships deepen significantly and become more real, more authentic than they ever were before. But others reveal their true, unvarnished nature. They escalate their tactics, they rage, they cunningly play the victim. They actively recruit others to cast the healed empath as the problem. Because if the healed empath can be successfully framed as the problem, then they themselves don't have to confront the uncomfortable necessity of change. And this is where the healed empath's true power brilliantly manifests. They do not defend their actions. They do not offer explanations. They do not attempt to convince anyone of their inherent worth. They simply observe. They calmly watch as people unwittingly reveal their authentic selves through their reactions, and then, based on that clear perception, they make decisions accordingly. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with pristine clarity. This is precisely Jung's concept of conscious participation in action. The healed empath engages with reality as it objectively is, not as they wish it to be. They perceive people clearly, accept them as they are, and meticulously choose relationships based on that crystal clear seeing. No more investing in potential, no more fruitlessly hoping people will magically change. No more self-sacrificing for connections that deplete rather than genuinely nourish. The healed empath becomes profoundly capable of deep, abiding love precisely because they are no longer paralyzed by the fear of profound loss. They possess the liberating ability to release anyone who does not align with their truth. And that hard-won freedom makes them powerfully magnetic to healthy individuals, while simultaneously rendering them utterly repulsive to toxic ones. Jung wrote extensively about this remarkable phenomenon, calling it psychological alchemy, the transformative process of the wounded healer evolving into the wise one. This is the person who courageously descended into the depths of darkness, consciously integrated the profound truths they discovered there, and emerged with potent gifts that can genuinely help others heal by modeling what true integration genuinely looks like. because here is the ultimate, profound truth that Jung finally unearthed. The healed empath's greatest gift is not their former ability to absorb pain. It is, in fact, their living, breathing proof that integration is profoundly possible. It is the undeniable evidence that you can feel everything with immense depth and still possess unwavering boundaries. That you can perceive the darkest aspects of humanity and yet still consciously choose compassion. That you can be both immensely powerful and deeply peaceful simultaneously. Your innate sensitivity was never a weakness. It was a potent weapon, waiting patiently to be forged. Every moment of pain endured, every agonizing betrayal experienced. You were gathering invaluable data, meticulously building critical skills, painstakingly developing the precise capabilities you needed to become psychologically untouchable. The ultimate goal was never to become less sensitive. It was to become consciously sensitive, to strategically take that innate empathic ability and fuse it seamlessly with hard-won wisdom and unshakable self-trust. To transform from a mere emotional shock absorber into an unyielding strategic force. This is precisely what Jung termed individuation, the transformative process of becoming truly whole, not perfect, not invulnerable, but utterly complete. Someone who unequivocally owns every single part of themselves, the radiant light and the profound shadow, the exquisite softness and the unyielding steel, the boundless compassion and the decisive capacity to cut ties without a moment's hesitation. You are not too much for this world. On the contrary, you are precisely what the evolution of consciousness urgently requires. A person capable of holding sacred space for darkness without being consumed by it, who can love with profound depth without losing themselves in the process, who can see effortlessly through illusions while still steadfastly maintaining hope. The unhealed empath tragically asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The healed empath intrinsically knows. It happened to meticulously forge you into something truly extraordinary. Someone who absolutely cannot be manipulated, cannot be guilt-tripped, cannot be pulled back into the insidious embrace of dysfunction. You were never predestined to save everyone. You were destined to save yourself, and in doing so, to become a living template for integrated empathy. Not martyrdom, not self-sacrifice, but rather conscious choice, strategic compassion, and empathy wielded with profound discernment. This is the transformation Jung meticulously documented, yet one that most people profoundly misunderstand. They mistakenly believe that healing signifies reverting to the person you were before the pain. But you can never truly go back. That earlier version of you was fundamentally unconscious. The healed version is immeasurably more powerful. You are now conscious, fully awake, and completely integrated. And that profound wholeness makes you dangerous, not to genuinely good people, but to anyone who mistakenly interprets your inherent kindness as weakness, to anyone who erroneously believes your empathy renders you easy to control, to anyone who thinks they can simply use you as an expendable resource. Those individuals are in for an undeniably rude awakening, because the healed empath does not engage in arguments, does not defend their choices, and does not feel the need to prove their worth. They simply smile, see clearly through the manipulative game, and make a decisive choice. And that choice is typically to walk away so quietly that you can barely discern the sound of the door gently closing behind them. No drama, no lengthy explanations, just gone. This is what a healed empath genuinely becomes. Not nicer, not softer, not more accommodating. They become sovereign, completely self-possessed, unmovable in their knowing, unshakable in their meticulously defined boundaries, and utterly untouchable to anyone attempting to play unconscious games. They embody love with an unyielding backbone, compassion with acute discernment, and empathy infused with profound self-respect. And that powerful combination stands as one of the most formidable forces in the entire landscape of human psychology. The healed empath truly understands a profound truth that took years of arduous experience to learn: that protecting your inner peace is not a selfish act, it is, in fact, sacred. That walking away from toxicity is not a surrender, it is a powerful act of leveling up. That choosing yourself above all others is not cruel, it is absolutely necessary. And when you finally make that unequivocal choice, when you definitively decide that your profound well-being matters more than other people's temporary comfort, something fundamental shifts. The individuals who once drained you begin to actively avoid you. The draining situations that once depleted you stop appearing in your life. The persistent drama that used to follow you everywhere suddenly cannot find you anymore. Not because you are actively hiding, but because you have fundamentally changed frequencies. You are now operating on a higher energetic level, where unconscious behavior simply cannot reach you, where manipulation harmlessly bounces off you like water off stone, where guilt trips land in empty space because you are no longer standing in the vulnerable place where they used to strike. This is the true, intrinsic power of the healed empath. Not the ability to feel absolutely everything, but the profound wisdom to choose what genuinely deserves to be felt. Not the boundless capacity to help everyone, but the acute discernment to selectively invest in people who are actively engaged in doing their own inner work. Not the gift of endless patience, but the formidable strength to decisively walk away when patience itself transmutes into enabling. If you recognize yourself deeply in this transformative journey, comment below, "I am awake." Let those words resonate as your solemn declaration, your unwavering acknowledgement that you have successfully crossed the threshold from wounded to powerful, from unconscious to integrated, from victim to truly sovereign. Subscribe for more profound insights into Jung's psychology and the ongoing transformation of human consciousness. Because this channel exists specifically for people like you, individuals who feel everything, who see everything, and who are diligently becoming everything they were truly meant to be. Your breaking point was, in reality, your magnificent breakthrough. Your innate sensitivity is your ultimate superpower. Your profound empathy is your most potent weapon. And now that you consciously understand how to wield it, you are truly unstoppable.